Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you with us alongside Paulie Sibilia. I'm Stephen Fonte. It's a Monday edition of Orange Nation, which means we'll have our weekly SOS house call coming up at 12:30. Dr. Nathan Everding from SOS joins us at 12:30. Coming up at 1 o'clock, our good friend Thad Brown, sports director at WROC in Rochester. We will recap the NFL draft as it pertains to the Buffalo Bills. Some news today. One Latavius Murray has signed with the Buffalo Bills for a one-year deal, so we'll get Thad's thoughts on that as well, plus another one of our good friends, Rick Beardsley, will be on with us at 1:30 to recap the SU men's lacrosse season coming up short on the road at Duke. Game of runs on Saturday between SU and Duke. Duke ends up winning at 18-15, so the season is over for all intents and purposes for the SU men's lacrosse team. We'll talk to Rick Beardsley about that, plus we'll mix in your phone calls throughout at 315-437-7644. Big weekend for you, Paulie. How was it?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Had a good time. Had a good time at the BAM Gala. It was nice. You know what the first thing in our chat was, Steve?
What's that?
Lamson going to the portal. Not good. And you know what I ask you, Steve? Is it not good? He probably was told he's going to be the third-string quarterback, right? And that's where he is on the depth chart after spring practices, right? I'm guessing.
I think that if you hit the portal after spring practice, as opposed to before spring practice, that's what I would take from it. That he was battling for a job, and no jobs are decided right now. But either they were leaning in one direction, or he didn't see separation. He's like, you know what, I want to go somewhere else.
So, is it a big deal? You hope you would not need him,
right?
Right, if you're third.
You hope you don't need anybody past Garrett Schrader. You texted me that, actually, from the spring game. You said, Garrett Schrader better not get hurt. You hope you can go with QB1 the whole year, but we all know you need a capable backup. And I think people were excited with what they saw to Justin Lamson last spring. And, the fact that, he got hurt and he missed a whole year. I think people were intrigued by, his arm strength and his size and what he could bring to the table, but it also seems like they have a capable backup in Carlos Del Rio Wilson, and
it also says a lot about the future too, right? Schrader's gone after this year, and Lamson clearly did not see himself moving into the starting position next year, right? Obviously,
yes, I would. That's what I would take from that. Yeah, I think he gave himself another spring practice to see where he stood, and right, that would be logical, because if you were going to leave all along, you would go before spring practice and go find your landing spot. But he waited till after spring practice, and so yeah, that's what I would take from it. That either he didn't think he was going to win the backup job, or it was too close to call and didn't want to take his chances. But again, we never really saw him play, so I people get upset when somebody transfers. I don't think it's the end of the world. You've got your starting quarterback. You've got your backup quarterback, and that's where you need. You had a competition ongoing to find out who the backup was.
The two guys that stayed got the bulk of the time last year, right?
Well, yeah.
So I think
it makes
okay.
sense. Yeah,
it's okay.
And it would make sense that Carlos Del Rio Wilson was a little bit ahead of Justin Lamson. Lamson was coming off being out for a year because of injury, and B, Carlos Del Rio Wilson actually got game reps, whereas Justin Lamson did not. So it stands to reason that he would be ahead in the pecking order, and Lamson would have to do something to close the gap. And again, no jobs are decided at this point, but I'm sure that they have conversations between the players and coaches after spring practice. This is where you stand. This is what you need to do in the offseason, X, Y, and Z. And he decided he wanted to go elsewhere. I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's not like a Rondé Gadsden decided he was leaving.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. And everything's okay going into the season. It just makes you wonder, like we've been discussing this, is Syracuse going to be better next year? The schedule is built for it to be. Is 6-6 enough, I just don't think there's going to be a point where you're ever going to say, well, Syracuse was 6-6 again this year. If Lamson had stayed, they'd be better. It's going to have a zero consequence on the outcome of next year.
Right. Yes, I would agree with that. And, we were reminded over the weekend about some of the quality players that they lost, right? I mean, Matthew Bergeron, Garrett Williams. You lose Sean Tucker. He didn't get drafted, but he lands as a free agent. Michael Jones. These are guys that were really important to your team, and you got to replace them. But no, I don't think you're going to miss the third-string quarterback.
Yeah. Al in our chat says quarterbacks leaving Syracuse never works out. Just ask Tommy DeVito. It's a weird thing with Tommy DeVito, right? Just got signed by the Giants. It worked out for him. Is it weird that he couldn't get it done at Syracuse? Was it the players around him? Did he not fit the system because they were still in that orange is the new fast? What do you
You're saying why did it go wrong here for Tommy DeVito? I mean,
he wasn't the Heisman Trophy winner, but he got a signed free agent gig, and he probably could have gotten that if he stayed at Syracuse too. It's weird, right? And then Schrader, it worked out for Syracuse. They've gotten better since he took the job from DeVito.
I do think it came down to fit, right? And Schrader fit better moving forward with what they wanted to do. And again, Tommy DeVito struggled, I think, for a variety of reasons.
Offensive line.
I think offensive line was a big reason. Receivers, maybe play calling, and because you wonder why when he went to Illinois things got better. Well, it was better offensive line play. I think they played to his strengths a little bit more, and I think that if people are being candid here, they would say, well, Garrett Schrader fit better with what they were trying to do. Like Garrett Schrader is more in the Eric Dungy mold than Tommy DeVito is in the Eric Dungy mold, and you had Sean Tucker in the backfield behind you. Receiver depth has been an issue throughout. Now it's starting to get better, and obviously Rondé Gadsden helps with that a lot. And he kind of emerged as Schrader emerged. So you wonder if Tommy DeVito had an Rondé Gadsden to throw to. You do wonder, how things would have been different. But I think Schrader seems like a better fit for this offense and what their strengths are. And then Tommy DeVito went somewhere, and I think they played to his strengths.
It worked out for everybody.
It worked out for both parties.
I don't think it's there's plenty of things you could slight the Syracuse football program for. I don't think losing Tommy DeVito is one of them.
I mean, they had to make a decision, and the way things are these days, you're picking, right? I mean, it's kind of with what we just saw with the backup quarterback. You're picking, because you're like, it's not like, okay, you're the 2, you're the 3. It's like, okay, you're the 2, and we know we're probably going to lose you. Like that's just the way it is with the transfer portal. So you have to make tough decisions. They made a tough decision. It was okay. It's either Schrader or DeVito. They didn't want to have, the old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. They had to make a decision who the guy was going to be, and they picked Schrader, and you kind of know going into that decision that the other guy's going to be unhappy and probably is going to leave, and that's what happened with DeVito.
I know I'm dumb, but how has Schrader worked out? Well, they got to a bowl game last year and improved their record with him as the starting quarterback. Wins are what matter in college football, right? It doesn't matter that he was throwing ducks down the field at points. He won games that DeVito couldn't, with the way the roster was built. And that's the bottom line. He was more nimble on his feet, and Syracuse needed that because their offensive line couldn't protect DeVito.
The offense got better when Schrader took over. I don't think, like, we can debate, has there been enough improvement, or like I get what Al's saying there. You can't debate that the offense was night and day better.
Yeah, it wasn't moving.
And it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because I was a DeVito guy. Like when they were in the process of making that decision, I said it should be DeVito. Like just the eye test tells you it should be DeVito. They went with a tough decision. They made a tough decision. There was no doubt that the offense got better when Schrader took over.
DeVito would get hurt. He would get hit.
Questionable decision making.
But he was planted in the. He's a pocket passer, and that was not going to fly with how Syracuse's O-line was protecting him.
Right. No, they made. I have
they made the right decision.
No doubt in my mind that they made the right decision. At the time, I was like skeptical about it, but no doubt when you saw what happened from then forward, that they made the right decision.
And Schrader's gotten better, also since he took over. He had rust. He went from playing quarterback to receiver. He was out, rusty.
Yeah, he didn't really play quarterback for a couple of years. So,
You're hoping this is his breakout year.
Yeah. And they've got some pieces around him. I mean, you obviously you lose Sean Tucker. The fact that Gadsden stayed put, I think that story kind of flies under the radar because, and we didn't really hear rumblings that he was looking to leave, but I think we just all kind of assumed that, we talk about with the basketball team that, Judah Mintz, if he decides to come back, somebody's going to offer him a lot of money. I'm sure that Gadsden had opportunities to go other places. I mean, he could play anywhere he wants. I mean, he's that good. We know he's that good, and he just quietly came back to school and put his head down, and so I think you can't overlook the fact that you've got an NFL receiver on this roster.
Yeah, and I also I don't know what his financials are, but he comes from an NFL family. He also loyalty to the people that gave you the shot,
right?
That saw this in you before anybody else did. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a thing with the NIL that doesn't get mentioned. If you're guaranteed you're gonna go, well, the money's there.
And I think that this is different than like Jesse. We talk about Jesse a lot recently with the fact that he took the payday, and you've brought up the point, and I think it's a good point where you say this might be the most. This is probably not might. This is most likely the most money he's going to make in a year playing basketball, $800,000. Like he's probably not getting that whatever comes next in his life. Whereas Gadsden, that's not the case, right? I mean, the goal is NFL. He's going to the NFL. All right, I need one more year. The goal is not about cashing in now. The goal is the long game for Rhonda Gadsden, where that's not necessarily the case for Jesse Edwards. So, anyway, I you say you hope that this is a breakout year for Garrett Schrader. We can't lose sight of the fact that he's going to be working with an NFL receiver this year, and obviously was last year as well. But just like Schrader's getting better, Gadsden's getting better too, and I think that will certainly help him.
Here's the thing, though: they need somebody else in that receiver room to step up.
They do, and we've been talking about that for years, right?
Yeah. When's the last time they had two receivers that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen since Dino's gotten here that they've been. They generally speaking, the offense has that go-to guy, from Amba to Steve Ishmael and, on down the list. Let's see if they can establish a second guy because that Oronde Guess is going to get a lot of attention this year. So they need that second guy, and that second guy could have a huge year.
Yeah, it should make your life a hell of a lot easier with it.
Yeah, right. So we'll see how it all plays out. But, Justin Lamson leaving. I don't think that's the end of the world. Somebody mentions Damian Alford. I think he's certainly one of the guys that SU fans have high hopes for. We saw Amari Hatcher catch a couple of touchdown passes. Isaiah Jones is back from injury. Like they've got some options, right? Who can be consistent enough though to show up game in and game out?
I'm old. Like now that I'm sitting here thinking, like just think of the receivers. When we talk about the glory days of Syracuse, who came through here from Marvin Harrison to Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, sure.
They were just shooting wide receivers into the league.
Yeah.
Quentin Spotwood. It was a lot of fun. They didn't. Everybody hated it because they didn't throw the ball, but they were still getting receivers into the NFL.
Yeah, and again, you would think that being in a dome and controlled environment, at least half your games out of the year, that this would be a place guys would want to come and play. And hopefully this program can get back to that. All right, let's hit our first timeout. 315-437-7644. Can't wait for what?
Our first break.
Oh,
I'm exhausted.
You're exhausted after 15 minutes. It's a Monday. We're getting back into the swing of things. We're back after this.
Need that TV timeout.
Back after this on ESPN Radio.
A long drive to right. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. No. Rizzo rakes. He homers deep to right.
If it's happening with the New York Yankees, find out here. ESPN 97.7 and 100.1.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks NyQuil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. That's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed.
Dell Technologies' semi-annual sale has arrived, and it's time to upgrade to the latest business technology. Save big on laptops and desktops with Windows 11 Pro. Plus, get amazing deals on server, storage, and cloud solutions, as well as top work accessories, including docks, monitors, and more. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL for special business offers during our semi-annual sale.
Hi, Billy Whitaker here. If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, the time to buy is now. Prices are coming down, and as always, we offer 40-second financing and 1-hour delivery. Billy Whitaker Cars and Trucks, where you're always good to go.
Attention homeowners, is your roof in need of repairs? Look no further than JKS Roofing LLC.
Sorry, you guys missed that whole thing. 2010 was the last time they had someone drafted. Yes, I look short compared to basketball players, guys. Thank you. Buddy is giant, also. It was nice to see Jesse and Joe at that. Once an orange, always an orange was the motto they were saying.
Well, aren't they, like, obligated to go? Like, Quincy, didn't he go?
No, you're not obligated. How would you be obligated? It's got nothing to do with the university. Bam's raised $9 million since they started that damn thing. Who doesn't love old Pat Woodcock? No, yeah, they make everybody look small. I'm just really short. I'm 5'6". Normally, when I take pictures with people, they're usually 5'10" to 6 foot. not over
6'10" to 7 foot.
Someone said I look like a Make-A-Wish kid in the pictures. I'm not seeing the Hunter Dickinson to Kentucky. I saw that he was going to visit Villanova still. Art Monk, I think, started as a running back, but he was behind Joe Morris. That's what I've been asking bowling ball. Like, is 6'6" good enough for a guy in his maybe the last year of his contract or the second to last? I may have fallen off the wagon for the night at the Bayheim Gala also. I was a little hungover yesterday. I ate a whole stuffed crust large pizza in one of those chocolate chip pizzas that they have. I ate like 20,000 calories yesterday laying on my couch dying.
Sounds like a good Sunday.
Live from the Dunn Tire Studios in Armory Square, this is ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
Welcome back to Orange Nation. The artists of the day today, Outkast. Bombs Over Baghdad is what we start with, Steve. What's your favorite Outkast song? Hey, ya.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the first one that came to mind, but I don't know. I'll tell you by the end of the day. Can I tell you?
Mine is Rosa Parks. Okay. Rosa Parks is mine because I'm hip. I'm hipper than you.
Why? Why is that better?
Because I know more Outkast songs.
I know both of those.
I do enjoy Bombs Over Baghdad, too.
Yeah. I'll let you know by the end of the show.
The mid-'90s, I used to DJ at a bar called Darwin's up on the SU Hill, and if you played Rosa Parks, the place went nuts.
Is that right?
Yeah. You know what other song was weirdly popular back then as a dance song? Believe by Cher.
Really?
Yeah. That would send the crowd into a frenzy.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. The good old days. How old were you when you were DJing at Darwin's?
I don't know. That bar was like, you had to walk up like 10 flights of stairs to get there. You'd need a beer by the time you get up there. Exhausted.
All right, we've got our weekly SOS house call coming up here in about 10 minutes. We briefly mentioned the NFL draft. Bunch of SU guys are in new locations today. We of course mentioned Matthew Bergeron, 38th overall to the Falcons. We said going into Friday he probably wasn't going to last very long. He didn't last very long. Falcons traded up from 44 to 38 to get him. Garrett Williams went right where most projected him. Third round, went 72nd overall to Arizona. And then after that, a bunch of guys signing as undrafted free agents. Michael Jones signed with the Chargers. Sean Tucker went to the Bucks. Andre Schmidt went to the Bears. He's an Illinois guy who grew up, went to high school in Illinois. The Sean Tucker situation is interesting, right? Because he was banged up, didn't take part in the pro day, didn't take part in the combine. It sounded like there was some injury concerns, so he holds this pro day 3 days before the draft. People thought he'd be, middle round selection. Then it started to trend toward a late round selection. Then he didn't get picked at all. I had somebody send this to me yesterday, Paulie.
Source? Your sources are telling you?
Just a colleague
pretend you have sources.
Who sent this, and it's a report. And it's kind of like by the way, in the middle of like this greater article, but a veteran NFL writer by the name of Bob McGinn says that an NFL executive told him that Tucker has a heart issue and that his career may be done as a result. I'm quoting that from the article. But I haven't heard much about this or seen much about it in the media other than that mention, and I guess that would make sense that there may have been some sort of medical question mark. I think we all thought it was maybe leg related, like either a knee or
but even in that
hamstring or something like that.
The first thing that popped into my mind, but even in that situation, why are you signing him at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the heart issue is. And again, if they're signing him and if he's actually going to play, I'm sure, he's going to have to get cleared by doctors, and I'm sure they'll go through the medical tests and whatnot. But, a lot of people were questioning why didn't he get drafted. That may shed some light on the why he didn't get drafted question. So I don't have any more details other than that. I'm just, that was one report. I don't want to speculate because I don't know. But that was one report that was sent to me saying this is the reason why he didn't get drafted.
Interesting. I don't know. That one's he went from, we goofed about it on Friday that he was a Heisman hopeful, to not being drafted.
Right. Leaving school early, having eligibility left.
Going into the year, we probably all thought he would be the highest pick.
I think there was still a lot of Matthew Bergeron back then too, but yes, I mean, I think most people believed he would be, top 2 rounds, at least top 3 rounds.
And as crazy as it sounds, this type of stuff, all these players, even though it was only 2 that got drafted, this type of stuff should help recruiting, right? These guys, especially just to get somebody from the offensive line in the NFL. If you've got that on your resume now to a kid, we can get you to the NFL. Oh man, I mean, I'm sure you got to do it a couple times, but it helps. It helps every little bit.
Yeah, and another defensive back too. I mean, right? I mean, Garrett Williams following in the footsteps of some really good defensive backs before him, and so I think it all helps. We said on Friday they haven't had a first or second round pick since 2013. So it had been 10 years since Justin Pugh, and then Matthew Bergeron ends that drought. They get 2 guys in the top 3 rounds as Garrett Williams goes. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, it's not the be all and end all, but that's certainly a good thing, and I think it can help with recruiting.
It's funny, Steve, that we were also discussing the wide receiver position earlier, and during the break, I did a little show prep and gave a sneak peek to our Q Sports Talk.
It's not show prep if you do it during the show, just so you know.
If it came up during the show.
Well, it's not show prep. Like prep would be I'm preparing for, like it's before.
I was preparing for this segment.
For this segment, okay. So segment prep. It's not show prep because the show's already underway. Anyway, continue.
That was necessary. The Syracuse hasn't had a wide receiver drafted since 2010.
So rattle off some of the names.
No. I'm looking like the skill positions weren't really flying off the charts. It was running back, DeLon Carter. Ryan Nassib, quarterback.
Thank you for pointing out that he's a quarterback.
I got to help everybody out. A lot of P's on that list.
Punter you.
Yeah.
It's punter you.
No, but defensive ends, defensive tackles, and linebackers, basically who were leaving Syracuse since 2010.
Right. No, we'll go back and read off some of the receivers.
Receivers beforehand.
Before 2010.
Johnny Morant, David Tyree. He made a pretty big catch in his life. Kevin Johnson. Jim Turner. There's a name you don't hear. Marvin Harrison. Gedney was a tight end.
Rob Moore, I'm sure, is in there.
Kadri Ishmael. Rob Carpenter. Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Deval Glover. Rob Moore. They were throwing wide receivers in the NFL pretty quickly from 80 on.
Right. Art Monk was 80, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But that's not a good sign that you haven't had a wide receiver get drafted since Mike Williams.
So as you said, 2010, which makes sense because we saw the talent level in this program fall off. You know, a smidge before then, right? It started to trail off, and then the talent level in this program was down. Obviously,
it was 6 years before that since the last receiver went too. So it's been
and that's when P left and Robinson took over. So that would make sense.
So it was Johnny Morant,
yeah,
and then Mike Williams,
right? And it makes sense because when Robinson took over, I mean the talent level in this program took a nosedive pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you'd think, I know they're not the oranges of the new fast, and then we got to go to a break, but they're not that anymore. But you would have thought after what they did for Amba, a guy who caught 2 passes at Maryland, basically, and
and Steve Ishmael.
You would be able to get some guys,
right? Well, they've got at least one guy now in Aranda.
He should go pro.
Yeah. That will
knock on Formica.
Yeah, that will that drought will end with Aranda. All right, we'll hit a timeout. Our weekly SOS house call is next on ESPN Radio.